All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor here, the executive director here. It's so good to be with you on another Saturday evening. And listen, hey, I'm sorry about the parking, y'all. It's getting tight, isn't it? Yeah, it's all right. Walking never hurt anybody. Hey, if you're new with us this evening, welcome to all you online folks, by the way, our virtual community. We're glad you're part of this community, whether you're in your living rooms or sober living houses or free circles. We're glad you're here. Wherever you're tuning in from, whichever state, welcome here. This is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's something we don't do here. And I want you to say it on a count of three. Say the whole phrase. We don't do whatever it is. One, two, three. Yeah, we don't do shame. It doesn't work. We don't do shame here. All right, y'all. I'm glad you're with us tonight. Man, there's a lot going on. First, thank you to everyone who came out to the comedy night fundraiser on Thursday night. It was funny, wasn't it? But I don't know. I put this in the social media post. It was the comedian better or sitting next to Brett better? I mean, Brett, thank you for laughing with us, man. We're laughing with you. It was good stuff, man. We had a good evening. Thank you all for participating and helping us raise money for the Welcome Home campaign. I'll talk more about that in a bit. D-Dog, Derek, come on up, dude. I want while you're coming up, I want to let you all know that Akron Sober Living is starting a CA meeting here. What does CA stand for?
Cocaine's Anonymous.
Cocaine
But
Anonymous.
It's for all mind altering. It still works the 12 steps like the AA
Yep.
group. And it just invites anybody. So I think it's a good group. And it's called One Line at a Time. So, yeah.
Man, we take risks in this community.
Those lines got you high. The lines in the book make you spiritually fit. So,
All right, Dave. We're going to let that one slide. One line at a time. 7 p.m. right here on Thursday nights.
starting next week.
Starting next week. So come to that. Tell us what else. This is cool. You're gonna want to hear this. I'm telling you. Tell them.
So I've been working probably the past 3 months with COVID and stuff with the Rockies, and just back and forth, back and forth. I finally got a hold of a lady, and I was able to get 100 tickets for our community on August 16th at 6:40. They're playing the Pirates or the Padres. So yeah, we got 100 tickets available. And next Saturday, what we're gonna do from 6 to 7 before the service, there'll be a sign up. And first come, first serve. We're looking at minimum donation of $5, but if you don't have anything, that's okay too. It's about community. It's about getting connected, and it's going to be a fun night. So, 100 people, and yeah, that's just awesome.
100 tickets. Did you say the date? August 16th.
August 16th.
August 16th. And a $5 donation it's all going to go to the Welcome Home campaign, but it's also to make sure if you take a ticket that you show up. So please don't take a ticket if you're like, well, maybe I can go. I'll see when the day gets here. Take a ticket only if you think you can come.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, man.
Thanks, D.
Thank you,
That's
man.
going to be fun.
Love
I
you,
hope
man.
y'all come to the Rockies game. Yeah, we can clap for that. Couple other things I want y'all to know about. First, Noel, do you want to come up here and stand with me? You don't even have to say anything. I just want you to stand with me. Noel, you got to get in the camera though. Noel is new to the free staff as of last week. Noel, look at you on the screen. Noel is our vision implementation lead. That sounds fancy, doesn't it? What she's doing is help taking all these great ideas. If you haven't sat in a room with me and Danny Colella, we get ideas, and I promise you, they're all great ideas. But they just start flowing, and sometimes, like 2 weeks later, we're like, did you ever do that thing? And sometimes we have trouble landing it. She's going to help organize ideas, organize events, projects, and execute them, bring them down to the ground. So, Noel, I'm so glad you're part of this team. We are going to knock it out of the park. It's going to be fun. And should I tell them about the first event you planned for us?
I think you should.
Okay, let's tell them. Okay, you can sit down now if you want. Since you do not have a mic. Yeah, let's welcome Noel to the team. So coming up August 10th, that's a Tuesday evening, we're having what we're calling Coffee with Canada. That's my last name, Canada. Coffee with Canada. This is in the new space because y'all know we're moving like soon in like 6 weeks. This is in a new space. We're moving 3 miles down the road. I'm still learning the address. Will someone correct me? Is it 2201? 2101 East Arapahoe Road, 10,000 square feet, our own building. It's a freestanding building, upstairs, downstairs. We're going to have a daily cafe. We're going to have a big room for this gathering that's going to be like double this size. There's going to be multiple rooms for multiple 12-step meetings and other meetings at the same time. We want this thing to function like a recovery center for healing and wholeness and just the whole gamut of things that I'll say more about on that evening. Come August 10th. I want to give you a tour of the place, but I also want to answer any questions you have about this Welcome Home campaign. I want to answer any questions. I want you to bring your ideas. What are you most excited about? Where do you see yourself fitting into this community? Where do you see the greatest needs of Free? How are we meeting those needs in our community? So come. You might say, why are they raising $600,000? It seems like a lot of money. It is a lot of money. We're purchasing this building. The loan has already gone through, by the way. We found that out last week. Yeah, big stuff is happening. And y'all know that once we get into the building, there's things to be done. There's some build out to happen. I am happy to be as transparent with you all as possible to answer any questions of why is it 600,000. And I also do promise you, if you're new with us tonight and you're like, oh my goodness, the pastor, there he goes, already talking about money. This campaign is limited. You're going to hear about it for the next 4 weeks, and after that, you're not going to hear about it anymore because it ends the last week in August. We started in June or end of May, and it's a summer thing where we are, as a community, raising $600,000. So come ask your questions, be a part of it. I would love to give you the tour and cast the vision of what Free is all about. That's August 10th in the evening. We'll do one online with you all, our online community. There's a Zoom link for that. We'll be sending that out. It was on the screen. And then we'll do in person for you all. And that's at, is it 7:30? 7:30. 6:30 to 8 in person. All right, y'all. I hope you come. Coffee with Canada Day. And finally, do y'all know Tava, part of this community? She and Chad recently had their baby, little Holland Reese. Look at that. Born, I believe, July 17th. Am I right on that? Yes. July 17th. Man, what I'm reminded of when I see this photo, when Tava posted this photo, the new life that comes with sobriety, the new life we get in recovery when we stay connected, when we actually work the thing. So here's our very first letter to your addiction, and it's Tava. Take a look.
My name is Tava, and I've been sober since January 11th, 2016. This is a letter to my addiction. Dear addiction, you were sneaky. I put my all into you and promptly, not gradually, lost everything I held dear before I met you. I thought nothing of myself and in turn thought nothing of taking advantage of people I love. And living in desolation, I chose you over my dreams, health, family, and morals I once held so tightly. You truly did your job and isolated me from the sunlight of the Spirit. I wanted and tried to put the light out on this precious gift of life that was given to me by God. Thank you for taking me to the better end where I had no choice but to look up. Thank you for teaching me that this life is not only to survive, but to thrive. Don't worry, I'll never forget you. I just want to thank you. Thank you for propelling me to a better life than I would have ever imagined. I would not have had half the life without you. You see, I had to put in the work, fall back in love with the God of my understanding, and not only seek, but invite spiritual experiences into my daily living. Remembering you excites me to become the woman I am and was meant to be. Honest, forthright, and loving. I get to show up as a supportive wife, a fun-loving mama, a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece, and a friend. What I understand now is that I know who I am. I knew it the minute every illusion about who I tried to be was shattered when you were taken away. I got to then choose which shattered pieces were too sharp to stay and leave them in the past where they belong. This is the thing about breaking, is I get to put myself back together in a beautifully whole way. Today, my purpose is to give what I was so freely given to me: hope, love, peace, and joy. So in part, the life I am living today is because of you, my addiction. From lost and hopeless to grounded in a community surrounded by people like me. Often, I will think back to my 5-year-old self, 13-year-old self, or even the self of yesterday, and give her a big hug and tell her it will be okay. Giving ourselves grace is an amazing gift of sobriety. If you are struggling, cornered, in the dark with seemingly no way out, I'm here to tell you it is possible and to tell you it can and it will be beautiful. I've only got today, thank goodness. But those todays add up to a meaningful life without you, my addiction. I've survived you and I will not forget you, and I love my life without you. All in all, I am grateful, so darn grateful that you showed up and you were so soul-sucking that I absolutely had to reach out for the hope of all of my tomorrows without you. My name is Tava, and this was a letter to my addiction. There is hope.
Go Tava. And congratulations to you and Chad on the little baby. Enjoy it. Soak it in. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Tava, so glad you're part of this community. Thank you for letting us share your letter again in this community. All right, y'all, here's how we start in this community. We start with celebrations. We lift up all the good stuff that's happening. So this is like anniversaries, sobriety anniversaries, birthdays, new jobs, all the stuff that comes with new life. We lift it up. We don't skip the hard stuff. We just don't start with it. We start with the good stuff, and we believe that God celebrates with us. So for you online folks, take 3 minutes. Get vulnerable. Put your joys, your good stuff, the celebrations in the comments. Let the community in so we can celebrate with you. And for those of you in person, we'll take the 3 minutes and we'll do our own thing in here. So we'll see y'all back in 3 minutes. Let's do this.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find. And with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. and I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free.
Online community. Man, y'all missed some of the best celebrations here in the house. I wish you were all with us. But you're an important part of this community, so we want to celebrate with you all too online. Man, we have sobriety anniversaries. We have real anniversaries here. Real ones. I don't know why I said that. Like marriage anniversaries, relationship anniversaries. Someone here in the house said 60 days of being healing of their own journey. You don't drink coffee? Give it a couple years. I started at age 9. Give it some time. Okay, let's celebrate with our online people. I'm just grabbing my coffee. Easy, Tiger, easy.
Suzanne says, I'm home and have had the time to visit with the owner of the property we manage, who has stood behind me even through my deepest of trouble with love and kindness. To work for someone so amazing brings such joy to my soul. Every day brings new challenges in this life, but to have the man I have by my side in the life I get to live is such a blessing.
All right, Suzanne, we'll celebrate that with you. Miriam Billington, whom I have the privilege of calling Grana, says, I visited with Selah, that's our daughter, and her cousins this week. They came to swim in my swimming pool. My house, Selah has grown. Thank you, honey. That's why I have you. She would say that too, wouldn't she? So sweet to see them together. Thank you for sharing that, Grana. We're going to celebrate that.
Danny says, celebrating a great time in Phoenix with friends and Bobby, who joined our tech team.
Yes, Bobby, Danny. Glad you're on, Danny. We're holding down the fort. Pray for us. Kristen said, celebrating 90 days last Tuesday. Way to go, Kristen. That's good stuff right there.
Nick says, celebrating 26 months sober this month and proud to say I have my entire family back.
Man, where's Nick? He's here, isn't he? All the way in the back. Love you, brother. Glad you're here. Let's just do one or two more, shall we? Kiara says, I celebrate my husband, Ryan. Y'all know Ryan and Kiara. 5 months sober today. So proud of him. Thank you for sharing that, Kiara. Celebrating. Way to go, Ryan. All right.
And Christy says, celebrating that Jen's brother's leg is healing up and he is walking without pain.
All right. We'll celebrate that with you, Christy and Jen. Is that it? Shall we do another? Let's do one more. Tawny, she's floating around here somewhere too. I saw her, gave her a hug. She says, I got the Vivitrol shot yesterday and do them monthly to continue my sobriety. Tawny, we're so glad you're here, celebrating that with you. Where's she at? I'm looking for her.
Right there.
There you are, Tawny. It's good to have you here. Thank you, Tammy, for joining me up here to do some celebrating with the community. It's good to be with y'all tonight. Let's have a little bit of fun with this new series we're calling Emotions, the emotional roller coaster of recovery. And our first emotion is the emotion of surprise. Here's a little video. So here's the deal. Emotional experts tell us that the emotion of surprise, more than all the other emotions, is demonstrated primarily in our face. And they say there's 4 primary features of the facial expression of surprise. Here's what we'll lay them out for you. This is what the experts say. Eyebrows that are raised so they become curved and high. Everyone put your eyebrows up. Yeah, something just happened. It rocked your world. You're surprised. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Then you got the horizontal wrinkles across the forehead. Come on, show those wrinkles. You know what's interesting about this one? The older you get, the more surprised you can become. Is it true? Interesting, isn't it? A third one they tell us is open eyelids. The upper lid is raised and the lower lid is drawn, often exposing the white sclera above and below the iris. That sounds really complex, so we just are going to trust that's a surprising look. The fourth one, though, come on, y'all got to do this one with me. This is the jaw, so that the lips and teeth are parted. Come on. With no tension around the mouth. All right, stop doing it. Some of y'all just look creepy now. So here's the deal. As I think about surprises, man, I don't really like surprises. Unless I like the surprise, then I like surprises. But the truth is, sometimes I need to be surprised. And listen, I get it. For most of us, if we're honest, we don't really like surprises, do we? And so what we do when it comes to the God stuff is we structure God to fit in our little, carefully created, no surprise box because we've got it all planned out. And God's up here somewhere. And that's where we're going to keep that box. Y'all know we started with 2 little girls that were born, not at the same time, a couple years apart. You know, and some time went by, and I was saying to Tammy, my wife, I said, you know, I think statistically speaking, the odds are if we try to have one more baby, we're going to get a boy out of the deal, and that's going to like round out the family. So let's try for one more. She said, no, I don't want 2. 2's enough. Let's just do one more, see if we can get a boy. Finally, she says yes. And I remember the day she told me she was pregnant. And I remember a few months later when we went to the hospital and found out it was a baby boy, and we were overcome with joy. And the thing is, his name is Breck, by the way. He's 5 years old. He grew. We started to get a little older. So much joy. I remember one time being up in my daughter's bedroom, and I said, Selah, this is my oldest daughter. This was me being a little risky. I said, it's time for Poppy to get another tattoo. What should I get? She said, I get to pick it? I said, you get to pick it. She said, I think, without missing a beat, I think you should get tattooed on you 3 blessings to represent each of us 3 kids. And I said, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. We went to the tattoo shop that day. I got 3 blessings tattooed on my hand. Yeah. Yeah. Those things are permanent. You can't change them. You know what happened one week as Breck was growing? He got about 2.5 years old. Man, we gave away or sold everything that had to do with baby stuff. He was growing out of the crib. He was in a big boy bed, so we sold the crib. We didn't need the changing table anymore. All the baby clothes we got rid of. Diapers, he was out of the diapers. I mean, we got rid of everything that week. And do y'all know what happened that week? Yeah, that week, I was at the office one day. I was in a meeting at the church where I was serving as a pastor. I was sitting in my office in this meeting. The phone rings. It rings again. It's Tammy twice in a row. I'm thinking she must need something, but I'll call her right back. Then the phone rings for a 3rd time, and it's her, and I answer the phone. I tell the lady I'm meeting with, I said, excuse me, it's my wife, and she's called 3 times in the last, 12 seconds. So I better take this. Hello? You need to come home now. And y'all listen, the way she said it, I had a call like this from a different family member in the past. And so my first question was, who died? And she said, nobody died. It's the opposite. You need to come home. Click. Promise you. She hangs up the phone. I'm a little slow on the uptake. So I'm thinking to myself, what's she mean? Opposite of someone dying? Oh, shoot, she's pregnant. No, so I put on my helmet. I put on my gloves. I leave that meeting. I jump on my Honda Ruckus scooter, and I go home 3.2 miles, which is approximately 7 minutes. In the whole 7 minutes, I'm having this very external dialogue with God. God, why would you do this to me? Why would it already feels like we're drowning, and now we have another kid? God, how did this happen? God, don't answer that question. I know how it happened, but God, why did it happen? How did this happen to us? And man, oh God, we're overwhelmed. It was the 2nd week into starting free in our backyard. We can't do this. We're not equipped for this. Fear was coming up. I took God all the way back to the 6th grade on my scooter. God, why would you do this? Do you remember the 6th grade journal entry? Let me remind you of our plan, God. Seriously, I have my journal from 6th grade, and there's an entry, and I promise you guys, I should have brought it tonight. Promise you I'm not making it up. It said, and I'm born and raised in Missouri. It said, when I grow up, I'm going to move to Denver, Colorado. Guess where I moved when I was 19 years old? Denver, Colorado. Right below that, I am not making this up. When I'm 23 years old, I will get married. Guess who married Tammy at the age of 23? This guy. Then, y'all, I'm not making this up. Right below that, it said, and we will have 3 children. God, why would you mess up our plan? We told you this is the way it was going to be. Why would this happen? Man, I got home and Tammy would barely touch me. By the way, guess who was in surgery like 2 weeks later? Yeah, this guy. And y'all, a little boy was born. Some of y'all are slow on the uptake. A little baby boy was born, and he's 2.5 years old now. Do you know what happened this morning? I was laying in bed, and he came into the room like he does in the morning in his diaper, and he runs, and he's got to get a little gallop going to jump up on the bed, and his feet go over his head a little bit when he jumps up, and he laid on my chest, and he put his arms around me, and he started tapping my side, and he said, I love you, Poppy. And I say that because I cannot believe there was actually a day where I questioned whether or not his existence would be good in the world. Man, I like surprises when they're good. Some of you guys know that I grew up in a family with a brother who was 3 years older, and he was battled this ugly disease of addiction, drug addiction and alcoholism. And his addiction brought a lot of pain and chaos into the family. And I'll never forget when I was 16 years old and he was 19 years old, he made the decision on his own will to go into this program. It was a 14-month program called Teen Challenge to get clean and sober. He stayed the entire 14 months, worked this program. Talk about a surprise. Whew. Me and my mom would get up so many mornings in high school, and we would have coffee together, and we would pray for him. Now he's in rehab on his own, stayed the whole time. Talk about a surprise. And I'll never forget where I was standing, where I fell to my knees, and where I wept when I read the letter that he wrote me. It started with, Ryan, this is your brother Brandon. I'm like, yeah, dude, I know that. Your name was on the envelope. His second line was, will you forgive me? He said, I was not the big brother you needed me to be. But then he said, now I'm clean and sober and without drugs and alcohol in my life and God in my life, I hope I can be the big brother that you've always deserved. And y'all, I just wept. And then I wept again 2.5 years after that. You know that I was a first-year student in college. It was my very first semester. He finished the program. He came out. He was a changed man. I mean, talk about transformation and surprise. He was different. And then I got that call from Mom. Ryan, you need to come home now. Your brother's been killed in a car accident. And man, y'all, I wept. God, why would you do this? God, you did this. You knew this wasn't in our plan. God, you said you would rescue him. We prayed for it. I've got the scripture to prove it. You said you wouldn't let this happen. This wasn't in our prayers. This wasn't in our plan. This hurts. Why would you do this? Y'all know I was home several months after that. I came home from for a weekend when I was in college, and I have a dresser at the home where I grew up, and in this dresser there's a box with some belongings from my childhood and middle school and high school, and I opened this box, and at the bottom of this box there was a folded up piece of paper. And on this piece of paper, it was the original drawing of the tattoo that we got together 3 weeks before he passed. And see, just to let you know, for those of you that don't, he relapsed. And in that relapse, got behind the wheel of a car. He was the drunk driver. I open up this paper. It's the original drawing. It was my second tattoo. I would show y'all, but it would be a little awkward because I'd have to take my shirt off. But it's there because those things are permanent. And it was a cross drawn for him. And he added on the cross, just below it, it's tattooed on my body, Isaiah 43. Do you know what Isaiah 43 says? Isaiah 43, part of the Old Testament, the Hebrew Bible, an Old Testament prophet. It says, begins this way, now this is what the Lord your God says. He who created you, do not be afraid because I am with you. When you go through the waters, you will not drown. And sorry, I got to pause for a minute. I don't mean to be too graphic. But in his accident, when his car flipped, it caught on fire and his body was burned beyond recognition. Do you know what the next verse says? When you go through the fires, the flames will not consume you because I am with you. And in all my crying out to God, God, why'd you do this? You said you wouldn't do this. This wasn't supposed to happen. God, you said. And I'm sitting there reading Isaiah 43 like I had read it for the first time ever. And it was like God shouting back to me, yeah, I said that, and I meant it. I meant it. When you go through the waters, you will not drown. I am with you. And when it feels like you're going through the fires, those fires, that flame, it will not consume you. You think I left you in that moment? You think I left him in that moment? You think the fire consumed him? Man, I was the first one there to welcome him across the threshold. I was the first one there to greet him in love. And I was the first one to be with your family when it felt like you were drowning and I was holding you up. Yeah, I meant it. You see, I think the challenge of faith isn't so much to just grow in certainty. A lot of people try to do, I'll grow my certainty, my beliefs, my certainty about who God is. But maybe the challenge is to stay surprisable. So are you surprisable? Or do you have God stuffed away in your little, carefully created, no surprise box? And listen, y'all, I get it. Some of you grew up with the kind of God it was just pounded into you. You grew up with this image of God, that God is a great judge, that God is waiting to pounce on you, that God is waiting to punish you because you've been so bad. And maybe your healing has everything to do with being surprised at God being good. You know, there's an ancient Greek god. Go into some Greek history here. An ancient Greek god, his name was Asclepius. In fact, you can see artwork of Asclepius from the 1st century, statues of Asclepius. He was the god of medicine and healing. And Asclepius, he had a symbol. He was always seen holding a staff, a stick with a snake wrapped around it. Recognize that? Yeah, I saw it in the hospital last week. It's the sign of medicine in hospitals. So Asclepius was said to do some incredible things. We have stories that tell us that, man, he healed people. He raised people from the dead. He did incredible things. In fact, he was an honored god. He was revered. When he died, the Greek god Zeus was said to have placed his body among the stars. And y'all get this. Asclepius had followers. Guess what his followers called him? Soter, which in the Greek translates to Savior. Interesting, isn't it? Now, in the ancient Greco-Roman world, in fact, if you were to go over there to the Holy Land today, you can still see some of these. I've seen some of them, toured some of them. In the ancient Greco-Roman world, there were hundreds of these healing temples built in the name of Asclepius. They were dedicated to him, and the healing temples were called Asclepions, and all Asclepions had something in common. They had a pool to their side. The pools were said to be considered dispensers of his mercy to people in need. Stay with me for a moment because this is absolutely fascinating. All kinds of people in need of healing would come and stand around these pools. And when the waters would begin to stir from Asclepius's power, these people who needed healing, they would jump in the water and immediately beg Asclepius to act. And it's interesting because some would go to the pool for just a short time, the day or the afternoon, as they were passing through the town, and they would jump in the water and beg for healing. Other people would go to these pools and sit day after day after day after day, waiting to be healed by the powers of Asclepius. So given that context, I want to close with a story from John's gospel. Keep that history in mind. This is absolutely mind-blowing stuff here. John chapter 5. We'll look at just a few verses. After this, there was a Jewish festival, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, near the sheep gate in the north city, is a wall with the Aramaic name Bethsaida. It had 5 covered porches, and a crowd of people who were sick, blind, lame, and paralyzed sat there. Interesting, isn't it? A crowd of blind, sick, lame, and paralyzed people, people in need of healing. By the way, in the first century, these were complete nobodies. They were societal rejects. They couldn't contribute to society. It was thought that God was against them. They'd done something to deserve this, and they're all sitting around a pool. Why? Because they're waiting for the waters to stir. Why? So they could jump in and beg Asclepius to heal them. Let's keep going. A certain man was there who had been sick for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there, knowing that he had already been there for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to be made well?" Now let's pause for just a moment, because I imagine this dude is a bit hopeless, isn't he? I mean, sitting in the same place for 38 years hoping for the same thing? I mean, is he a little insane? And nobody wants to be around him. He's a reject. He's an outcast. He's a marginalized person. And notice Jesus' question to him. Not, hey, what's your physical ailment? Want me to fix it? Not, what's your pain and I'll take it away? Not, what's your hard stuff and I'll make it better? His question is, do you want to be made well? The sick man answered him, "Sir, I don't have anyone to put me in the water when it is stirred up. When I'm trying to get into it, someone else has gotten in ahead of me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat and walk." Immediately the man was well, and he picked up his mat and walked. And I want y'all to imagine this conversation with me for just a moment. Can't you imagine Jesus asking this question? You want to be made well? Well, yeah, Jesus, I mean, I don't even know what that means to be made well, but when I try to get in the water, everyone else, those selfish and self-centered people, they jump in ahead of me, and no one cares to drop me in the water so I can get healing. So, Jesus, I don't even know what you're talking about. "Oh, that's right," Jesus responds. "You're waiting for Asclepius to stir the waters so you can be shown mercy." Now, y'all keep in mind, the ministry, the words, the teachings, the actions of Jesus always point to who God is in the world. Can you imagine Jesus saying to this man, seriously? Seriously? You have to do something to get this God to act on your behalf, and if you can't do it, then that God is silent? And you call him soter? What kind of savior is this? I mean, can you imagine him saying, "Let me tell you about a different kind of God. This God's already on your side. This God is already giving you mercy. It's already yours. You don't have to do anything to get it. It's already there. When you go through the waters, I will be with you. And when you're going through the fires and it feels like everything good in your life is being consumed, I'm going to be there too, because this is the God who is always with you." You see, this God, I can imagine Jesus saying, this God is not about curing. This God is about restoration. This God isn't about saying you'll never experience pain, but this is the God who says, when you go through it, I'm going to go through it with you. Can you imagine this man's surprise? Healing? For me? I mean, do you know who I am? No, I'm a nobody. I'm a reject. I've been unhealed for years. You don't know my pain. And maybe you are as surprised as he was. Because maybe you look at yourself and say, healing? Being made well? For me? No, no, no. You don't know what I've seen. You don't know what I've done. You don't know what I've been through. I've seen too much. I'm too skeptical up here. You don't know my pain. I've been unhealed for years. And my brothers and sisters, maybe the greatest surprise in all your life surprises, and all your blaming of God, and God, why'd you do this? And God, you said, and God, now you got to fix it. And this God says, no, no, no. I don't fix things, I restore. I'm the God who makes all things new. And maybe the greatest surprise of it all is when you say to yourself, man, I'm alone. I'm the only one going through this. And this God says, not so fast. I'm going through it with you. My brothers and sisters, are you surprisable? When it comes to God's goodness towards you, when it comes to God's goodness in the world, are you surprisable? And remember, the real challenge of faith isn't to grow in your certainty, but to stay surprisable. So take 60 seconds and reflect. What does it look like for you to stay surprisable? Say 60 seconds to give you all time to reflect. But really, it's just so I can walk back and refill my coffee. So I hope you enjoyed the reflection. Seriously, it's a good question. I hope you reflect on it all week. Are you surprisable? Or are you one of these? Man, I know who God is. I know how God acts in the world. I'll just keep my arms crossed because I know exactly who God is. Stay surprisable. Speaking of surprise, I'm inviting my friend Jerome. Man, this friendship is new, and I don't want to butcher your last name publicly, but it's a hard name to say. Eichstead, right? Did I say it loudly? Eichstead. Jerome Eichstead is in the house tonight. I can't wait for y'all to hear some of his story. Yeah, we can clap for that. Let me just say this first. His first time to Free was last Saturday. Last Saturday night, his first time was to Free. And I'll let him talk more about it, but he said, man, that's the first time I felt that welcomed in a community ever. Because that's how we do things around here. We don't do shame. We welcome people in, actually. We accept people. We love people. That's our goal. Jerome knows Tammy through coffee. I think you're serving some coffee at the recovery center where you work. And I know some of you in this room know Jerome. I'm just now getting to know Jerome. But I said, dude, would you come and share with us? Speaking of surprise, he's got a story that's filled with surprises. He was sharing some of it with me last week. So without further ado, I want y'all to greet my friend in love, Jerome. Jerome, come on up, brother. Only in the name of love. We weren't live on camera, so I could say that. All right, Jerome?
Yes.
Jerome. Saman said, let's not make it weird. It was recorded. Dude, I'm glad you're here.
Likewise.
Are we sitting too close to one another, Drew? Are we good? Okay, we're good. Felt like we were close to each other. trying to think where to start with you, Jerome. Listen, when we met this week to talk through so what I do, if you're new with us, we have a guest storyteller every single Saturday, and I meet with them throughout the week to talk through the theme, and I put some notes together, and we just got talking about life and spirituality and recovery, and it was like, shoot, our hours that we had an hour. You said you had to go at 5:30. So you had to stay a little later because then we had to actually talk about the stuff that we needed to talk about. But that's how fascinating. I wish the conversation was like a camera on that because that was the conversation. So let's just rehash that conversation. I want to start with where are you with the God stuff now? Because I know spirituality, and we are a community for spiritual refugees. So speak as candidly and honestly with us as possible. Where are you with spirituality, the God stuff?
Well, I've been stewing on this all week now, knowing that
You're
surprise is part of the conversation today. The paradigm's starting to really shift from being cynical about my relationship with God to being skeptical. I think the important distinction about cynical is I'm looking for reasons to poke at it for it not to work, and I'm skeptical now to look for reasons that it does and is working. Because I had this funny way of translating negative experiences in my life to be about me. Weird, right? I'm all about me. How dare you do that? It made me do this. Quite frankly, I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
And through a mutual...
You can say his name. They know him
Yeah,
here.
a mutual friend, Danny Colella.
Danny, are you watching still? Tell us about Danny
I've put a
Kulala.
lot of trust in him. He's not just your typical friend. He's the friend that you consider to be family. Danny, our relationship started when I worked at a psychiatric hospital. It was a competitor to his, and he took me under his wing to show me the ropes, per se. Just be authentic, be yourself, and I'll hit you up if I see an opportunity that might benefit you. I was like, okay, that sounds good. Well, when Danny invites me to something, it's always without expectation that I'm gonna get something out of it or he's gonna expect something in return. And finally, I took him up on the opportunity to come here. He's the person in my life that I've continued to look up to, that I feel like I'm missing out on something in life. He has something I don't have, and what is it? Right? I can't articulate it. I'm starting to articulate it now.
Yeah.
So instead of, again, making COVID-19 about me in isolation and ignoring my social structures, I listened to Danny once again to come here. And last week, I heard the 3 criteria to be here. To be an addict, check. I've been in recovery since November of 2015.
There you go.
To be a loved one of an addict, check. We'll get into that some more in the surprise, right? And then to be a spiritual refugee. That never was said to me before. That landed with me on a significant level.
Because it's interesting, what'd you hear when you heard spiritual refugee? Because we've toyed with, do people know what that means? And how do people interpret that? How'd you interpret it?
I interpret that as, well, I'm kind of like God curious.
God curious.
I'm curious. I'm interested in what's happening over there. And every time I've sailed my ship close, I've landed somewhere that, okay, there was an ultimatum put out, and I want to get back on my ship and sail somewhere else. I'm not comfortable. I've done things that are unacceptable to be accepted in this community. Again, we're going to talk about some of those things.
Yeah.
And they're heavy, but they're the truth, and that's what I have to offer. Because I know that I'm not alone in this journey anymore, and I guess I'm making a distinction that I don't want to be alone in this journey anymore.
And can I interrupt you for a moment? Because you said in your message to me last week that you said when I was there Saturday night, it was the first spiritual experience where I felt like I didn't want to sail my ship somewhere else.
Yes.
And I want people to hear that. Maybe you're watching online. You're like, man, I just don't know if this is for me. We have people online that watch online, and they're scared to come in here. And I get it, because you've got baggage, like so many of us. You got religious baggage. And I want you to hear this dude when he says Man, I was welcomed. Man, I didn't want to sail my ship. It was a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Keep going, Jerome.
It was the message at times. Here's this funny way of me making things about me again.
I'm seeing a pattern, dude.
So much. I don't know. Maybe I'm unique in that regard, but I doubt it. The message just seemed to speak to me.
Yeah.
That you're welcome here. Be here and meet other people because they want to be here too. So I really don't like to be bound by necessity. I think a lot of us are bound by necessity with our job and our families. I mean that lovingly, but I choose to be bound by choice. I'm here because I choose to be here, and you all choose to be here. I don't think anybody's forced to be, so that's kind of it. That's where I'm
Stay
at.
God curious. Stay spiritual curious with us. We want you here, really. I mean, I'm speaking for the community. I believe that. I want people to hear. You said you're the loved one of an addict, and you said it with a little asterisk. You've been through some things. Your stepdad died by suicide in 2018. Your dad died of this disease of alcoholism. You've experienced other grief and loss, and I always think it's important. First, what keeps you sober in those moments? And then, where was the surprise? Or maybe keep it present. Where is the surprise in the loss and the grief?
Yeah, the loss is that's the reason why I continued to consume alcohol and use drugs. I was able to I wasn't able to for so long to break free of focusing on what is or isn't happening. I think we get caught up in that in mental health. We get caught up in that in addiction. We want to expose the truth and then punish. And then somebody said, well, alcoholism is the slowest form of suicide. I grappled with that for a really long time. And then my dad died, and I got out this. So I guess a little bit about me. I'm a combat veteran of the U.S. Army. I spent almost 2 years of my life collective in a combat zone. I lost some friends to combat. I lost more friends to suicide when we got home. I got out in 2013. Went to school, was heavy in my addiction, functional alcoholic. I tried anything you put in front of me pretty much. Lost my dad in 2015 to alcoholism. That's when I fell off the wagon. That's when I was drinking, 2 handles a week. I didn't care about anybody else. I started to figure out something's got to change. So I got sober in 2019 with the help of my favorite human, my wife. That wasn't my wife at the
That's
time.
good for you to say. Is she watching right now?
She is. She's going to be here tonight, but she'll be here soon.
All right.
Then my family struggled with some serious mental illness. When I say serious mental illness, I want to correlate the two, addiction and mental illness, because they often walk hand in hand when you start exploring the why. Suicidality is part of that. And again, that's a reason I stayed inebriated. I didn't want to talk about it. I was scared of it. I was scared of people that were suicidal because I thought I struggled with loss. Again, I would make their death about me. And then I got into the mental health world in 2016 and 17, and my stepdad completed suicide in 2018. So now I lost, one of my creators. I lost the person that was next up to bat with that equation. And I thought I was going to lose another really close person to me, and it didn't happen. I kept thinking that how dare they consider doing something like that with all these people around that love them. What I wasn't talking about was their struggle. I was talking about my struggle. How dare they do this? How dare my stepdad leave me? It wasn't about me. Right immediately after, I think the biggest surprise of my life, and this is the pinnacle point or the climax point or the turnaround point, whatever we want to call it. lost my stepdad. We're coming up to his death anniversary, unfortunately. It'll be first week of August. I kept wondering why my favorite human couldn't support me when he passed away. By support me, I mean be present. We would show up and then, hey, I've got to go. It happened for the third day, and I'm getting really upset. Like, I need you right now. Well, I kept poking and prodding for the truth. I got it. Well, Jerome, I can't be there because I'm jealous. That's your stepdad killed himself. Again, I'm making it about me. I called my close circle and started gaining allies, because that's what we do, right, when we feel threatened.
Yep.
I turned the truth into opportunity. What did I just hear? I'm jealous that your stepdad killed himself. I didn't hear this at the moment, and I know it happened again because the conversation came up more than once. I'm jealous that he had the courage to break free of his suffering. Whoa. It's not about me anymore. That reason's greater than why I'm upset. I hear the truth now. Now I hear opportunity. I just got an inlet. I got let in the front door for people that struggle with suicidality. I didn't know experiencing someone else's suicidality or suicide completion could be an opportunity to hear that now I can support them. By them, I mean anybody that struggles with suicidality. Very few will talk about the truth because we're, quite frankly, afraid to hear it or unwilling to hear it, and that's okay too, because you can come around if you choose to. But the surprise is now I hear opportunity in tough conversations, and I stay involved in those conversations because now all I have to do, Ryan, one of my favorite things we talked about was carrying hope.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to bring that up. Your words were, I'm not afraid to show up and hold hope for people. And I want to say this, too, because I've noticed you're very, correct me if I'm wrong, careful and intentional with your language around suicide. And if we had more time, we would explore, because I know it's important, but I would love to hear it from your perspective, why you say it complete rather than commit, and you're talking about suicidality and those things. So I appreciate your attentiveness to language, because one thing we know is language is important. Language matters around tough issues. So maybe if you have questions about that, stick around and talk to Jerome later. But talk to us about being a bearer of hope.
So holding hope for somebody, hope might be the burden that someone carries. It might be the reason why they continue addiction. They continue to consume. They want to be inebriated. They don't want to be sober. They don't want to be present because what they're feeling is too overwhelming and burdensome for others, or maybe they're making this up in their own narrative, right? That you can't hear what they have to say. You can't hear why. You're not, because you're consumed by judgment. You're consumed by making it about yourself. Again, and like Ryan pointed out, I make a very, very specific goal every day in my life to articulate things well because I think it's important. So when we're carrying hope and taking that burden off of them, we can hear them speak clearly, even though it's offensive. So when somebody talks, like, there are people that won't speak up about suicidality because we label it committing suicide, like they're committing a crime. Now, completing suicide and attempting suicide is the distinctions I prefer. I think it will help, but holding on to hope provides space for them to seek healing. And that's exactly what I'm doing here.
So tell us, Jerome, and we're coming up on the end of time, but if you were to say one thing, I ask this question often of our storytellers. We're talking about some serious subject matter here and talking about surprise. But for those barely hanging on, for those who need to hear a word of hope from someone who holds hope, in just, 20 seconds, what do you say to them?
Life is worth living, and the hardest part is going to be reaching out and asking for help. It's not weak, it's strong. In fact, I respect you for it. And I know, turn to your left or right, there's probably somebody there willing to do it. You just got to ask.
That's right. You got to reach out your hand. Yeah. Hey, brother, I'm glad you're here. I hope you come back. I hope you stick around this community. This community needs you. Glad you're here.
I'll be here.
Let's thank Jerome for being here, y'all.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you, dude.
All right, everybody. The way we close things down. And by the way, Jerome's going to stick around here. So if you want to talk to him afterwards, ask him questions, explore. Sorry, Drew. I should have stayed seated. You should have yelled at me. Sometimes you yell at me. You can stick around and ask Jerome questions. Get to know Jerome a little more. He's an open book. He said there's nothing you can't ask me when we were talking. So get to know him. Welcome him in like we do. And if you're online and you've got questions, put them in the comments, and hopefully you'll engage there too later on. Thanks, Jerome. All right, so the way we close things down, yeah, you can clap for him again. Remember how at the beginning I said we start with celebrating together? And I said we don't ignore the hard stuff. We don't ignore the heartaches, but we do save them for the end because we're a community together. And what I know is we weren't created to carry these burdens alone, and some of y'all are carrying heavy burdens. That is one thing I've learned in this community. We carry more burdens than other communities, and that's okay, because what I know about God also is God always hears the cries of the people. So we lift these things up, and we believe that God is hearing our cries. And so I just want to invite you to take 3 minutes. Again, if you're online, take the 3 minutes, put them in the comments. It's your opportunity to get vulnerable. I know vulnerability can feel scary. It can feel creepy, and we invite you to get into that scared feeling and creepy feeling. There's nothing creepy about it. Just let the community in. We want to walk this journey together. If you're here in the room, we will do our own thing for the 3 minutes. So take 3, and we'll come right back. Prayers for you, Brenda, and the family. I'm glad you all are here. Glad you're here. Yeah. Oh, we're live. We are live. Tammy's making her way back up. what you're supposed to squeeze in by me? Are you just using this as an excuse to get close to me again? She does that sometimes. She's like, whatever. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. Let's pray for people, shall we? All right.
Christy says, first for Aaron Scott, who had a malignant brain tumor removed and has radiation and chemo ahead. He suffered a stroke during the surgery and is now in rehab while going through his treatment. Prayers for him and his family. Prayers for them.
Yeah, lifting them up, Christy. Thanks for sharing that with us. Suzanne says, hi, Suzanne, by the way. Please pray for a really good friend of mine who is still in the grips of alcoholism. Yeah, there's lots of them out there, Suzanne, lifting your friend up and all those who are still battling. Thank you for mentioning your friend. Prayers for them. Suzanne, it's good to see you here.
Danny Colella.
And Danny
prayers
Colella.
For a friend, Nikki and Christopher. Nikki is in the hospital fighting some heavy stuff.
All right. Prayers for Nikki and Christopher. Sarah says, a very close friend lost her father in a tragic rock climbing accident. She and her family need prayers for the strength and comfort to carry them through their grief. My goodness, Sarah, lifting them up in prayer. Thank you for mentioning them. Oh, you got a long one.
Oh my, okay. Suzanne, I really needed to hear about finding opportunity in tough things. I work out in the heat a lot and have had a few UAs. It doesn't matter to the people I'm accountable that I am not using and have made them give me a mobile breathalyzer. An offer to take hair follicle test, but it's still written as a using offense. The injustice of this deeply bothers me, and I've been angry at my HP about it, my higher power. It puts my husband in a tough position as well, as I have to report daily to a location an hour and a half away. There has to be some opportunity here.
Yeah, prayers for you, Suzanne. Thanks for letting us in on that. And I know that's heavy stuff, and it seems, where's the surprise in that? Where's God in that? And that's what this community wrestles with. So thank you for mentioning that. Prayers for you, Suzanne, and your husband, and prayers for peace. Stay with it.
Last one.
One more. Terry. No, Christy. Christy or Terry? Chris. I think we already did this one. All right. Well, we'll close things down there. Thank you, Tammy, for being with me. Listen, if y'all have more stuff, you can put them in the comments. We have a prayer team here at Free that lifts you up through the week and connects with you. And so feel free to keep putting them in the comments later tonight, tomorrow, throughout the week. We will lift you up and encourage. And I know how this community does. We're the wagon together. Is it true? We know where we're headed. It's been a minute since. Can I share just real quickly before we get out of here the story of the wagon? Let me tell you about this wagon. This wagon was with us at the very beginning in our backyard. This one right here, this actual wagon. I know y'all on screen can't see it. You can just see the handle. It sat against our tree, and here's why the wagon is a central image in this community. I was at the Union Rescue Mission in L.A. It's the oldest rescue mission in the country, the longest standing one. And I was there taking a tour, and I was with the executive director. We went up to the top floor because this thing is several floors high. And on one of their walls was their memorabilia of their history, and one of the central images was a picture of a wagon. And I said, what's the story with the wagon? He says, you don't know the story of the wagon. I need to tell you the story of the wagon. I said, apparently you do. And he said, this wagon, not this wagon, but the one on their wall, would go into, this is the late 1800s, would go into the roughest parts of LA, and they would hand out food and clothing and Bibles and other things of hope. And then at the end of the night, they would welcome people to get on the wagon to go back to a place of healing and recovery. Now, what happens when you get a bunch of drunks on the wagon? Some of them fall off. This wagon would stop, which, by the way, falling off the wagon, where'd that saying come from? This wagon would stop, help pick up the drunk ones. Why? Because they knew where they were headed. They were headed to a place of healing and recovery. This community, listen, y'all, we know where we are heading. We are heading towards a place of healing and recovery, and we are growing, and the mission is thriving, and we're going to keep impacting the community. On this wagon is a giving box. There's some giving boxes scattered throughout Free, and truly, it is your generous giving that helps create the mission. It helps the mission thrive. Yes, we are in this Welcome Home campaign to keep creating a place of home for spiritual refugees, addicts, loved ones of addicts, and we know where we're headed. Like I said, you're not going to hear about this campaign in 4 weeks, so you just got to bear with me for 4 more weeks, and I hope you give generously. Drew, can you come up here for 1 second? And if you're new with us, we are out of here by 8:15, I promise. I put Drew on the spot just before we started because sometimes I think people think that, man, I've got to give a lot of money and I can't give $100,000. That's okay. If you can give $100,000, we actually need that too, and we'd accept that. But I ain't going to lie, just being honest. But I promise you, and I mean this, it's the sacrificial giving. It's a spiritual practice. Drew is part of this community. This dude is here day in and day out on Saturdays. He's the first one to hear, and I promise you he will be the last one to leave tonight as a volunteer in this community to run our tech team. But he also gives financially. I love you too, Drew. And it's an awkward question. I get that. And so I asked him. I'm not putting him totally on the spot. I said, would you tell people how much you give? Because I know you're a man that doesn't have just an abundant amount of wealth headed your direction. But I want people, will you tell people how much you give and why you give?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my name's Drew. I'm on the tech team. We need help, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Hi, Mom. So yeah, when it comes to giving, you know, like, so I don't have a lot of money, but you know, it's like, I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous and my sponsors like put $1 in the basket, especially when you don't have one. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to a place like Free, I don't have a lot to give, but what I did was I set it up in the app so that I give $10 a week, right? So if you look at it, that's Chipotle one time, right? So I look at it as like, if I can eat Chipotle one time less a week and I give $10 every week, that's almost $500 a year. In fact, it is over $500 a year. I'm tired. It's math.
That's right.
So yeah, that's over $500 a year, and that doesn't sound like a lot. That's only $10 a week. You know what I mean? And I think anyone can give that. You know, the fruits that are born because of that $10, it's insurmountable. You know, the opportunity to give, to serve, for a mission that I really see. One is going somewhere. This room is packed tonight. It's very intimidating.
You're doing good.
It is, and two, to be able to know that your dollar is actively saving someone's life. Like, I've seen it firsthand. So every dollar counts. It really does. And if you come and hang out with us long enough, even on the internet, people have seen what can happen. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. I love you all, whether you like it or not. And
Thanks, Drew. We love you, dude. Glad you're part of this community.
It's hot up here, by the way.
So I just do want to remind you, if you want to give to this campaign, we're right around $375,000. That means we got 2.25 left to go. We're trying to meet our goal of $600,000. I hope you come on August 10th with all your questions or yearnings about the mission. And there are 3 ways to give in this community. If you want to give to this campaign, this Welcome Home mission, put Welcome Home in the memo. You can do it directly on the app if you have the app downloaded. And if you don't have the app, you can go to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and you can give there. Or you can text the number on your screen. It'll walk you through some instructions. And truly, y'all, I say it and I really mean it, your generous giving helps sustain the mission here at Free of breaking the silence of addiction and creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And really, I am so grateful for those of you that are part of this, part of the mission, and you're giving. So grateful. All right, y'all, shall we close with a prayer? How's that for, I said 8:15, right? It's 8:14. We got to pray real quick. Now, I want to invite you, take a deep breath. Invite the God of the universe in through your breath or your yawn. Keep your hands open. It's a sign, a symbol of openness for the surprise. And if you don't know this prayer, it's called the 3rd step prayer, and it's on your screen, and it goes like this. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always. Amen. And my free brothers and sisters, this week, may you stay surprisable and look for God, because God is everywhere in your midst. Go in grace and peace, and we'll see you next week.
People ask me what my secret is. I just smile and say, follow me. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world. Life's too short not to really live. I got a big heart, I can let you in.